Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Turkey Investor webinar. Today, we will be introducing and discussing the RPA Group and the investment opportunities we have in the London Commuter Belt.
Yes, hello everybody, and thank you, Elliot, for the introduction. So, we know that RPA Group is really focused in Turkey, especially by the beginning of this year. And we are organizing such events, even live events in Turkey, and also such webinars. Thank you very much for joining me today as well to explain a bit London and around.
Exactly. Yeah. So thank you, Tamkan. And Tamkan just mentioned, as a business, we've been working with clients worldwide. And we have certainly noticed sort of in the last couple of years that there is a strong demand from Turkey in particular, and so therefore we are concentrating and working particularly well with a number of clients based in Turkey, and obviously Tamkan being based in Istanbul is a sort of a sign of our commitment to the country and to helping investors from Turkey purchasing UK property. As a group, what we're trying to offer is a trusted advice when we're looking at an offshore purchase, i.e. a UK purchase. If you can look back over our scores when we're looking at the Google reviews and Trustpilot, we've got many clients based all around the world who like what we offer when it comes to sort of the principles of what we do. And what we do is we deliver premium residential assets that offer a hands-off, predictable return. And we do that by offering the service surrounding all of that. Now, the service, which Tamkan can go into even more detail in a second, but as you can see here, we do the research and the due diligence on the product, on the properties and the investment cases themselves before we've even started conversations with potential clients. And therefore, once we've done our due diligence and research, we then ensure we're sourcing the correct residential investments. We then offer the advice where you sit down with myself or Tamkan or any of the team, whether that be in Istanbul or on Zoom or anywhere basically where we're based around the world, and we have the conversations and talk through the process and what we do. Now, the crucial point to all of this is it's all under one roof. So the investment advice and the product, the property is one thing. The legal and the conveyancing process and the lawyers on hand, we have those. We have specifically a lady called Gamze Gonal, who is based in London, Turkish solicitor, but qualified in British law and English law. We then have the mortgage services where we would be able to help you with getting lending and the right type of product that would suit you for when you're purchasing the property, meaning you could utilize your money as efficiently as possible. And then we also have the lettings and management team in the UK who will manage, let and maintain your asset on your behalf while you're based obviously in Turkey or wherever you may be in the world. Tom, do you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, thank you for summarizing. It's really a big advantage for investor to get all the services together, because we're not talking about only providing a real estate, but we are talking about providing a full service. Even before pre-sales, we are helping people where to find the correct real estate depending on the client's needs and requests, and then we provide, as you said, all the services. And referring to our previous webinar, Donna kindly joined us and we talked about mortgage and remortgage processes, which was very successful because most of the clients turned back to me to say that we didn't know that mortgage process was like this in UK. It's really interesting, etc. And we really got to get some successful results with this. And of course, we will continue to do that. And again, not only mortgage, legal side, letting some property. This is what clients need and ask. So we are ready to help doing all the process.
Exactly. Now, the headline to this webinar, and I'm sure many of you have joined specifically to understand what the London Commuter Belt is. But we have projects across England, whether that be London Commuter Belt, Birmingham, or Manchester, so some major cities within the UK. Today, we felt it would be helpful really to speak about the three specific projects that are close to London and why that is a particular area that from our due diligence and from our research that we feel offer very good returns and offer three different types of investment really in terms of the anything from the size of the project to when it's being built to the location of those and specifically around London. So first of all, let's talk about the London Commuter Belt. What we mean when we talk about the London Commuter Belt in the UK, we're referring to places that are within an hour to an hour and a half of London city centre. Okay, so all the projects we're about to discuss now are within 1 hour of central London. So that may mean that people, tenants, obviously, because that's the key principle to all of this, that may mean that the tenants will work in central London, but like to live a little bit further outside of the major sort of hustle and bustle. Or it may mean that people live and work in these locations, but like to have access to London for all the attributes that the city has itself. We have one in the southeast, which is, if you're looking here, called Ashford, in Ashford, which is called the Triangle, and that's in an area called Kent. We have another project in Brighton and Hove called Goldstone Apartments. And then finally we have Claygate, which is our most recent launch, which is within the M25 and in a very lovely sort of wealthy London suburb that is sort of within a short distance of the city centre itself. As Tamkan and I have discussed many times, generally, Tamkan, don't you agree that when people initially say they want to invest in the UK, they talk about London itself, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. This is, as you said, what we have been discussing for a long time. So, of course, in terms of investment, and again, referring to our previous webinar, we mentioned about Birmingham and Manchester, which are in investment point of view, looks better. But in the end of the day, I always tell you that, yeah, Elliot, you are completely right, but people instantly asking London. So thank you for this explanation. And again, as I always tell you, people are asking about London, and when we are talking about these projects that I believe you will be talking in details in shortly. Okay, but what is it? How far is it? What does it mean? And also you told something very important while your sentences. You said that you should consider in the point of view of the tenant, because most of the people buy it for investment. Of course, there are some other reasons, but in the end of the day, the majority buy it for investment. So we always advise people to think in the mentality of investment. It's not for yourself to live or sit there. That's why you need to consider in investment point of view and also in the tenant point of view. So that's why I think the rest of the webinar will be very important with your explanations about what is London, what is commuter belt, why this one, why this one. So it will be very useful, I believe.
Exactly, and that's as you, just to reiterate what Tamkan has said here is the cornerstone of any residential investment is the tenant, because the tenant will ultimately be paying, giving you an income, or paying your mortgage, which allows you to use money to purchase, to grow that portfolio. So the key point we're looking for here with all these projects is what does the tenant want? What is the tenant demand like? Okay. So I'll go through the projects now. I will be in a high level description, and then obviously, please reach out to myself or Tamkan, and we can then start arranging more calls, face-to-face meetings. Whether if you're in Istanbul, if we're or online, if you'd like to speak, if you're based anywhere else, obviously as well. So the first project I'm going to discuss is the Triangle in Kent. Now this project is completed, or virtually completed. I mean, it's one block has already handed over. The two remaining blocks are being handed over very shortly. So the full structure is there. It's done. It's finished. It's ready for tenants to move in. So what that does is gives you an immediate return on your investment. There were a number of units that were held back for completion. So therefore, that we have a range of apartments from some studios, 2 beds and 3 beds available. Prices from £225,000 up to 3 beds around £400,000. It's so in terms of the payment terms, essentially because it's completed and ready now, you would pay everything today, and I'll show you the cash flow in a second. But for instance, if you were looking to buy a 2-bedroom apartment for £295,000, you would need around 35% today, and then mortgage the rest of the property to then be able to purchase the property. This project is within it's 29 minutes into Liverpool Street, which is central London. So it's incredibly well connected to central London. It's on the edge of a park, so it has great views. But the key thing for all of this is the cost. You are going to struggle. I have worked in London since 2008, and I can't think of anything at the moment in central London that would be the quality of this, that you would find anywhere close to 295. You're probably looking at 3-4 times the value. So from an investment perspective, we want to put a small amount in to get the maximum return, and something like this really offers that.
And Elliot, as far as I see, yield also is quite good compared to central London, right?
Correct. Yeah, exactly, Tamkin. So again, in central London, even from a gross perspective, you will be lucky to be getting sort of north of 4%. I mean, it used to be when I was looking back, sort of the middle of my time in London, sort of around 2012, 13, 14. You'd be lucky getting 2-3%. Now it's sort of maybe 4, very lucky 5. So up to 6% gross. It is a much stronger option than you would get in central London. And also the thing that lots of people maybe don't realise on first impressions is that, say, if you buy something in central London because it's a fantastic location in a big tall tower and everything like that, but has like swimming pools, gyms, concierge and everything, that's great, but your service charge, which you have to pay for, is very high. So therefore your bottom line, your return, is much lower because of the higher extra charges that you get, which you won't necessarily get in projects that we're talking about at the moment. So the second project and sort of the most recent launch of ours is a project called Crown Gate, which is in a very lovely suburb of London called Claygate. The nearest large town is Esher. It's an incredibly high value area. The average property price in the area is north of £1 million. There are very few apartment flats available within this location. So again, going back to demand and why, is there a demand in this area? That there certainly is, because there isn't many other properties that are similar to this. It's completing in 1 year's time and is only 14 apartments in a gated residence in the middle of the village. So it's aesthetically very appealing. It's in a very quintessentially English area location, and has fantastic attributes that will attract the right tenant when they only have to walk a 5-minute walk to the train station to be into central London in sort of within 20 minutes. 25 to 30 minutes. So as we get closer into central London, you can see how the prices start to change. So we're looking at prices for 1-bedrooms in here from £435,000, and 2-bedrooms starting from £475,000. Now, there are only 14 available units within this project. So I think the way we've broken it down is there are 2 1-bedroom apartments and there are 12 2-bedroom apartments. Every apartment comes with its own car parking space. Again, relatively unique in the UK generally, but especially close to London in a gated residence. Because this is completing in 1 year's time, the way the payments and works are significantly underway, but the way that the payment structure would work is you pay 15% now, or once your lawyer has advised you that is the right thing to do and that you are happy with the process, and then the remaining 85% will be on completion. But bearing in mind, if you looked at getting a mortgage, you would put 15% down now, and then you could put down a 20% in 1 year's time and mortgage the rest. Yield, as you see, the closer we go into central London, goes down, so we're up to 5.2% gross here. Anything to add to that, Tamkan?
Yes, exactly. This is of course, very nice and boutique project. And also, while we were talking, I also recognized an important point about car parking. It's also something different than Turkey. Of course, some buildings have limited car parkings in Turkey, sometimes have full parking, but in the end of the day, it's not something that you need to buy extra. But in UK, in most projects, please correct me if I'm wrong, you need to buy car parking area extra. So it's also an advantage in this project, and it contains a very limited number of units, and as far as I know, we have a good demand, and some units are already gone or are about to gone. So I always recommend my, clients or investors to move quickly if they want such a boutique project, because in the previous one we talked completely about tenant side, investment side. Here also, of course, it's valid, but it's a bit more nice, let's say, more boutique if you want, okay, yeah, I'm an investor, but in the end of today I want such a different or boutique place. So it's good to go for that.
Exactly. And as mentioned, any more details, we're more than happy to answer and to discuss that in more detail as and when you'd like to. Okay, finally, this is a project called Goldstone Apartments, which is down on the south coast of the UK, down in an area called Brighton and Hove. This is a 5 minute walk to Hove train station, which is just under 50, I think it's 58 minutes into central London. This project is particularly popular because of its location to the beach, to the coast, south facing. The front aspect of the project is south facing, close to the train station, and again in a very desirable residential location. And going back to our point earlier, the reason that we've chosen this project and the reason that the developer chose the project as well is within the local vicinity, it's generally speaking houses, villas. So typical family homes of 2, 3, 4, 5 bedroom houses. There are very few apartments available, and so therefore they've decided we've taken on this site. And there is another site actually which is just next door, but this is a relatively small plot of land. There's another site next door which was purchased by a pension fund who have bought it and invested in that project, Legal and General, who have bought it and invested it in that project for an income stream for their investment, for their pension fund. So you can see the level of interest and due diligence that's gone into this particular area, and if a pension fund have invested in this area to generate income over the next 10-15 years, then we all should be. The area itself, again, as I mentioned, it is a high value area, so it's very popular. So your prices are a little bit less than London, but a little bit more than they were in Ashford in Kent. So you're looking at 1 bedrooms at 370,000, 2 beds from 480, and there are a few 3 bedrooms at 600, over 600. This is completing at the back end of this year, Q3, maybe pushing into Q4 of 2025. And so the payment schedule in this instance will be putting down 20% now, and then the rest on completion in Q3, Q4 this year, which, as I mentioned, if you're putting 20% down now, you would then put down around 15% on completion, and then you would have your returns from the mortgage would pay the rest. Very interestingly about this project is your typical lets are the highest yield we've got, really, at 6.6%. Very, very popular area. There's a severe lack of apartments available within Brighton and Hove itself. So you're getting a really strong rental amount of up to, depending on which unit, 6.6%. And the other attributes that the project has is the fact that, unlike many other projects, you are able to do short-let Airbnb style lettings within this project, which is unique in itself, and that can obviously, it's a slightly different investment model, but can return you up to 13% gross. The sort of thing to think about here when we're looking at this, and what we attracted us, was the fact that Brighton is one of the most visited places in the UK from a tourism perspective. It's close to London, it's on the coast, and so it's very, very popular from that perspective. And so therefore, and there is a lack of available hotels or Airbnb options within the area, so that which makes this even more attractive on that short let basis, and what has attracted many clients to, you can either stick with the very good return at around 6%, let's say, or if you wanted to maybe slightly higher, try and attempt a slightly higher opportunity with the short let, you can, which you might not be able to on other projects, but the option is there to try to get something higher if you wanted to. And then just sort of, those are the three projects really. As I say, it's quite high level. and I didn't want to go into too much detail, but I wanted to give you enough information to sort of gain some interest, and then we can take it sort of into a further detailed conversation. But one thing Tamkan and I wanted to discuss with you was how we would discuss and show a project to every single client. Tamkan, do you want to go through this just to explain how we sort of reiterate this in our meetings and everything?
Yes, I think, as you said, it's very important because in the end of today, after talking everything, after choosing the location, you will pay this one. So what actually will cost to the client and what will be the return of the investment? This is normally what is discussed in the end. So we are very also transparent and informative on this sense. Of course, here we are only sharing a certain part and summary of the file, but we open the whole file to the client and explain on which price they purchase, what external, what additional costs they have, and in the end of the day, what they get back in 5 and 10 years time. And especially 5 years time return, of course, depend on independent research companies' outputs. So these are not dreams or things that we say on our own. This is acceptable things in the market. So as I said, the client knows from the beginning what he is expecting during the process.
Exactly, and I mean this page is just giving me an example, sort of an overview. But you know, when we get to the stage of you know, once you're happy with the process, with the sort of the services that we're offering and how we're assisting you sort of purchase, and we've chosen that sort of right product and right sort of location for you, that we have a very detailed analysis like this, where it shows all the costs and what they are, and where they may be attributed, and everything like that. So there's no hidden surprises when we get to completion. You know exactly where you are and when you need to pay things and what you're paying things for. But it is this detailed.
Yeah, exactly. Very good.
Perfect. Okay. Well, look. I'd just like to thank you all for joining us today. Any questions that have been asked will get answered directly from our team. They'll give you a call and answer those questions directly. So just to sort of reiterate, you know, we do have offices around the world, headquartered here in the UAE. We have our UK office. We also have offices in Nigeria, and in Turkey itself, in Istanbul. So whether you'd like to meet Tamkan in Asia or in Europe, we have options in both, and obviously, you know, please do reach out to myself and Tamkan to arrange those meetings. I will be in Istanbul, roughly speaking, every 2 months, but Tamkan obviously lives in Asia and is the whole time.
Yeah, thank you, Elliot, for this very compact but very useful webinar. And as you said, I'm already here. You are coming very frequently, but it doesn't matter. We also make Zoom or similar meetings quickly. And again, for mortgage or other topics, we are also able to organize pre-meetings completely free to understand the client and to make the best advice. So we are here to help the clients during all the process.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and I hope to speak to many of you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.